Good morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time of the day it is. Thank you so much for jumping on Hope. My name is Tammy Lynn Connors. Today I have my friend Cynda Williams on here. Hi, Cynda. How are you today?
I am so great. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on here with me. So I just met Cynda. She is a contributor to a new book that came out, Faith, Failure, and Success, Surviving the Storm. She is an author, actress, singer. She has her own podcast and she hosts another radio show. And I am just excited to meet her and to hear her story of hope. And what hope is helping other people evolve. And what we do here is I interview people that have been through a struggle to get to a strength. I feel like in our world today, there's so many people that are out there struggling and they feel like they're all alone and there's no hope for them. And when you hear other stories, unfortunately, of struggles, but when you hear of the hope that they have for you, it might help you get out of bed that day. And that is just what my mission and vision is, just to help somebody be able to get out of bed, to be able to open their front door and look at life in a different way. And so when I do these interviews, it helps my heart and I hope that it helps yours. So I'm excited to hear Cynda's story. I don't know anything about it, so I haven't read the book yet, but I'm excited to hear it. So Cynda, welcome to Hope. And, just go ahead and start and we can just kind of go back and forth a little bit.
Okay. Well, as you said, I'm an actress and I've been singing, doing all kind of stuff, writing, now podcasting, about a year and a half, whatever. But everybody struggles. Everybody goes through their difficulties. And I've lived a life of that. I've had a lot of things happen that I learned as an adult to take responsibility for it all. And so writing this for me, my essay, it's called Your Life Depends on It, was another way to be accountable for an experience that I had about 7 years ago now, I guess it is. Okay. Yeah, almost 7 years ago. I was going through some major turmoil in my life. Both of my parents had been diagnosed with life-threatening disease. My father had cancer, and my mother, who had already lived with polio her whole life, had gotten viral meningitis. And so one Christmas, we found out that both of our parents were on the verge of death. And we were devastated. It was a devastating turning point in all of our lives because it was so sudden. I had been married for quite some time to my child's father. We were never happy. And but because of my upbringing, I was sticking in the relationship, though we really got married because of the child. That's why we got married in the first place. And so I was holding on. So in my essay, I end up in a hospital. I end up in the hospital. I almost died physically and emotionally. I had a breakdown. Some people call it a mental breakdown. I call it a rebirth because I had so many things happen all at once. I had health issues, high blood pressure, thyroid issues. I had to have my thyroid removed, but you have to get it checked every 4 months because they fluctuate. And I didn't know it, but I was in hyper mode. I was super hyper, which is life-threatening. I had a major accident on a set that I was working on, a play, where I was in horrific pain. I would spend a lot of time in the hospital for that. So and then my parents.
Ooh.
So, and my parents, and because when I found out about my parents, I was like, why am I living my life miserably? Why am I in this situation where we're not even living together? And why? And so I asked for a divorce, and that just started a whole hell. I just started a hell. So all these things happened at once, and it took me through a sci-fi experience. It really was. I don't get too deeply in the book about that side of things because I want to write a full novel about that eventually. But I went through some things where my experience was not the same as other people's experiences. Of me. I had a friend at the time who saw me in a completely different way than I saw myself, saw the world in a completely different way than I saw the world. Everything was crazy. It
Right.
was out of control. And it really gave me a sense of compassion that I thought I had, but I'd never had it to this extent with people that are bipolar or have that live with uh these diseases their
Mhm.
whole lives, and no one knows what they're going through. Well, I got a taste of it. Thank God for me. It was a temporary, basically a can't think of the word. It has to do with storm. It was the perfect storm
Okay.
for me of all these things. So it threw me into this bipolar episode that I experienced, and everything changed for me. My life changed, and like I said, for me, it was a rebirth, because I did have a near-death experience where I died on the table. And so I got to see everything in a different way. And I had this whole life review where I saw my life from in the womb on.
Oh my goodness.
And so it completely changed my life. And it was very difficult because no one knew what I was experiencing. My ex-husband, now he's my ex-husband, didn't understand what's going through. He had my child and wanted to keep her because he didn't understand what was going on with me. So I lost my child. I lost my career for a while. I lost my health for a while. And it really changed everything. But at the same time, I learned about myself. I understood why I made certain choices I made. I understood my patterns. And I'd always been very submissive, very I didn't say no very often,
Mm.
when it came to, being taken for granted, being taken advantage of, because it was a part of me
Right.
because of the things that I'd experienced in my life. Well, this changed all that because it was like I got a new life. Like all the stuff that had gone through my entire life culminated into this point, and it was dead now. And so I could start living as a full, whole human being within the same life, physical life. A lot of people don't get that chance
Oh.
to become a totally different, healed human being.
Mm.
And so there's a whole lot more to it. It's very detailed. I'm a actress and a screenplay writer, so it's very visual. A lot of people that have read it have said that they felt like they were in my shoes because I am very sensual in my explanations. I talk about what I smell, what I see, what I hear, what
Mm.
I feel from every aspect. So it's very theatrical. It probably could be a movie.
Yeah.
That's basically what it was about.
Wow. It sounds like it could be a movie. My goodness. So
Mhm.
that was, you said in 2014, is that what year you said that was?
2014. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was the year. Mhm.
So was it like, did everything like transpire like in that year? Like your parents, your knowing that you
It
didn't want
it
to be
it
married like that
began,
anymore?
yeah, 2004. Actually, we found out about my parents in 2000, the end December 2012 is when we
Okay.
found out about my parents. So that's kind of like where things started rolling from.
Right. Right.
And that happening gave me the strength to ask for a divorce,
Mm-hmm.
which started a whole horrible experience with that. If you've ever had a divorce, you know how that can be. Dealing with my daughter and her emotional health,
Mhm.
and then then my physical, all these things just happened within 2 years of each other.
Wow.
And then I got this play. I was doing a play in Los Angeles. Wonderful opportunity. I thought it was going to be, because my daughter was getting ready to start high school. So I thought,
Okay.
okay, now I can finally get back to my career because I took off to take care of her.
Right.
And it was this wonderful opportunity, but all this stuff had happened. And I had this injury and everything just it blew up in my face.
Yeah. Yeah. And don't you
Uh,
think, I mean, a lot of it when you talk about just the thyroid and the bipolarness and all of that, I think a lot I mean, I don't know because I'm not a physician or anything, but stress plays a huge part in our health,
Mhm.
and I think that, and then you get that rumbling of that rolling effect, right? Like you
Mhm.
said, this happens, and you're so excited for you to be able to do your life again, do your plays again, but you still have that stress that you haven't worked on yourself, is what I think happens, right? And
Mhm.
then the accident happened, and then, like you said, it's a rebirth. It wasn't like you could have taken that, and this is where I like people to hear our strength. You could have taken all of that you just went through, and you could have curled up in a ball and laid in bed and said, forget it, I'm done.
Mhm.
But I guess God had a bigger plan, because like you said that you actually flatlined, basically, correct?
Mhm. Mhm.
How did that, I mean, was that through a surgery? Was
It
that,
was because of my blood pressure.
oh,
My blood pressure, I didn't have my medicine.
okay.
I mean, there's a lot of details that I leave out of the story to
Mhm.
protect certain people.
Sure.
But I did not have my medicine for over a month.
Oh,
And it just, strokes run in my family, high blood pressure runs in my family. And my blood pressure was explosive. It was to the point of killing me. And thank God I was with smart people that got me to the hospital
mhm.
when I was going through. They had been with me through this whole thing, because it lasted, the whole experience it was about a year
Okay.
in its whatever, but it just gradually got worse and worse and more
Mhm.
confusing and more struggle, whatever. But then on top of that, I also had the physical side of it, and the emotional turmoil I was going through affected my physical health.
Sure.
And then not having my medicine for a really horrible reason, I didn't have my medicine, and it just all culminated into this explosion, basically. And but it was a real blessing, because when it happened, when it finally came to that point, I was at a safe place. I was at a place, I wasn't home, but I was with a friend that was taking care of me and took me to the hospital. They rushed me to the hospital, and I they got brought me back, and I was able to heal. So first I was in the medical side, dealing with my body, but then
Right.
I went into the psychiatric side and spent, a couple of weeks getting help. And then once I was released from there, I had therapy. I had a therapist and a psychiatrist to bring me out of it. And it took about a year
Mhm.
for my feet to touch the ground. I tell people it was like I was floating away.
Mm.
But there's a string, and my friend was holding on to that string, keeping me down. My feet were not on the ground. I was in a completely different dimension.
Mm.
You know, I like, for instance, this is one example. I didn't talk too much about this, but I would in Los Angeles, there's a lot of homeless people because they've been let out of mental institutions because they can't afford to keep them.
Right.
So they're out in the streets homeless. Some of them are drug abusers. Some of them are just in this other dimension. And because I was in this other dimension, I was communicating with them. So
Mhm.
from my point of view, we were just having a beautiful conversation. But from my friend's perspective, we were talking gibberish. He
Mm.
didn't know what was going on. He was freaking out. He was afraid, trying to get me away. And I was like, what's the problem?
Right.
He's saying the most beautiful things,
Oh.
because I could hear him.
Mm.
Other people in this plane could not
Yeah.
hear him.
Oh.
That's why my whole perception of people that have these illnesses have changed, because I've experienced it, for one, and I've experienced them at a different level. I know there are people out there that don't believe in these things, the
Mhm.
spiritual
Right.
experiences. Just imagine you've taken some kind of psychedelic drug.
Mhm.
That's what it's like. It's like you're experiencing life from that level, but you're not on any drug.
Mm.
You're not, but you're still having that experience. So you see things in a completely different way than anyone else is perceiving them, but it's still happening to you.
Mhm.
It's just at a different dimension. It's on a different plane. And
Oh.
people that have never experienced this don't know. I had never experienced it. I'm not a drug user. I'm not I'm not a big drinker or anything like that. So I never really experienced that. So my perception of people that were going through whatever they were going through was compassion and love because of the lack of knowledge. But now I have empathy for them because I went through it. I was shown what people with mental disabilities experience firsthand. So my visual of them completely changed.
Yeah.
And my compassion level went up on 100 notches because I experienced it. And when they're talking and you don't understand it, they're saying something.
Yeah.
You just can't understand it because their feet are not on this earth.
Wow.
They might physically be, but emotionally, spiritually, they're at a different place.
Wow. That's powerful what you just said. I don't know if you saw me wiping my eyes, but it teared me up. Like that is just, and to experience that, I mean, honestly, to give, a whole new perspective on life and what you said about the spiritual realm and what people believe and don't believe. And I've been so much more enlightened in the last year to that, to understand to have the compassion for others. I haven't experienced what you have, but I do. I mean, I've been in the psych ward at the hospital too. I've had those experiences too. And what you said that I like to share with people too, is you said for at least a year you had, psychiatric help and counseling. And I think that people feel like when you say that, oh, I go to a counselor, I see a psychologist, they're like, that's craziness. But it's really, it helps people so much. And I think that people need to not be so afraid of it. And I think that everybody in the world needs a counselor. I think that counseling is the greatest thing because you can actually talk to somebody that you don't think is going to go out there and share it with the world. You share what you know, and they will help you get through it. And I love that you shared that with us. And your story is powerful. I can't wait to either read the novel or watch the movie because it has really touched my heart and soul a lot. And, I can't wait to learn more about you. I know that the book is on Amazon. You can get it, The Faith, Failure, Success, Surviving the Storm, Amazon. And I'm pretty sure Glenn's 220 publishing books are in Target too, that you can get them through Target.
Or Barnes and Noble.
Barnes and Noble.
They're at wherever books are sold.
Okay.
You can get the book, but the easiest route that most people take is Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Target, .com. You can go to those places and you can get it. And when I've read some of the other women's stories, I'm like, mine is just a minuscule little minute, you know what I mean? Because the things that these women that have experienced and lived through and survived. I had a lady on my show today. Her name is Vanya Hudson. She's one of the contributors. And listening to her story, we all were agape. We're like, I mean, it is so amazing what she has lived through and is thriving today. And she was very forthcoming with her flaws, very, very forthcoming with her current struggles. Those things don't go away just because you've had these experiences, because you've had therapy. You still live your life and have struggles. That's a part of evolution. That's a part of life. Without struggle, we don't grow. Right. Without challenges, we don't evolve. Right. That's what we're here to do. We're here to learn about life. So the key for me, and because I went to therapy twice. I went that time and then earlier on because I had so much trauma. And I get into that earlier trauma in my essay. I talk about, because basically how I tell the story is from the point of view of being in that final hospital and going back and looking at my life and how I ended up there. And so I had to have therapy for childhood molestation and sexual abuse. I had to have therapy for rape, because I was walking around with a neon sign, invisible neon sign that all the predators could read saying victim. And so I just kept having these experiences until I realized that I had that sign and I could turn it off, and take control of how people perceived me, especially predators. Yes. And so, that was the first time I had therapy and it was so life-changing. And then I went through this experience, completely different reasons, but we all everybody goes through it, but you are not alone. And it's temporary.
Right.
It is temporary. That is the thing my first therapist said to me that has stuck with me. Two people changed my life. Well, lots of people changed my life with words because I read a lot, whatever. I listen.
Mhm.
But my daughter, as a 7-year-old child, said something that I'll never forget because it was such wisdom coming from this innocence. And my therapist, it's temporary. What you're going through right now may seem like, you want to end it, blah, 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 but it will tomorrow morning, shoot, actually within the next second, you can change your thoughts, change your state, change your mind about whatever it is that you're going through, right?
Yes.
The circumstances might be the same, or, like for the homeless person, I still don't have a house, but you can perceive
Mhm.
it differently, right?
Yeah.
And then what my daughter said to me that I'll never forget was, we were trying to go see a movie. I was homeschooling her in Singapore. We were living in Singapore, was homeschooling her, and I wanted to get to this movie, because I'm a very timely person. My father was military, so he instilled that in me, very timely. And we got out there and the bus just pulled away, right? The bus left. And I was like, oh, we missed our bus. We missed our bus. And my daughter's like, so no, we didn't. I said, Sophia, you just saw the bus go by. What are you talking about? She goes, it wasn't our bus because we weren't on it.
Oh.
And that like completely shifted my way of thinking for the rest of my life.
Mhm.
It wasn't our bus because we weren't on it.
Right.
So basically meaning when things don't work out the way you want them to, or the way you think they should,
Mhm.
that wasn't the way for you.
Right.
That wasn't, say you get laid off, fired in your job right before Christmas. It wasn't your job anymore. There's
Mhm.
something better for you.
Mm. Yeah.
And as soon as you make that recognition that there's something better, that's why that went away, is because it's not for me anymore,
Mhm.
then those something betters will come to you. But if you stay in the mind state of I've lost everything, I don't know what to do, nothing's ever going to work out for me, and you stay in a permanent place that is only temporary, then you can't move from that place. Then you
Right.
won't get another job. But as soon as you can go to, you know what, that wasn't for me anymore. Was it horrible that they fired me right before Christmas? Yeah, that
Yeah.
wasn't cool, but it wasn't for me. So I know deep within, if that happened, it's because there's something better for me. There's a different direction for me. And I'm going to be okay because I'm still here and I'm okay.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
know, that I think I forget that oftentimes. I'm going through whatever I'm going through. Why, oh, why me? Why me?
Mhm.
But then I remember, but here I am, I'm 55 years old. I've lived through all this stuff and I am still rocking and rolling,
Yes.
you
Yes.
know?
I just
So
said that.
yeah.
It's like, and that's so powerful. And what, the whole mindset is just powerful. David Goggins says, you don't let your mind control you. You have to control your mind. It's easier said than done. But like you said, I mean, I just said this, I think yesterday, like there's days I get up and I'm like, oh, but then I have to be like, yes, I woke up, my eyes opened, I have a chance today to make my day better or make somebody else's day better. And what I love what you said too is when you read in that book about the other women's struggles and then you looked at yours like, oh boy, mine was nothing, but really yours was. But they say, we throw all our problems into a pile. You're going to go grab your own problems back because the other problems are like, whoa, look what they're going through. And so that's what this whole thing is that I'm doing here, is to be like, someone's going to listen to your story and be like, oh my goodness, I was complaining about this and she went through this, and that's just giving somebody that strength to get through, like you said, this life that we have, we go through a struggle. It's just a little blip. It's just a tiny blip in life that it's something for you to learn and grow from. What your daughter said, not our bus. That's so true. And like, when I got fired from my job, when I I was fired for drinking, and I thought my life was over, but it wasn't. It was a brand new beginning for me, you know, and I thank God that I got fired that day. I think God put me in that place that day to get fired, because he knew that I wasn't going to live much longer if I didn't. But it's taking those moments and realizing what blessings they are, you know, and, you know, that bus could have been a tragedy that you got on it, you know, and you know, that's a lot of times I look at things too like that. So I can't wait to grow this friendship and learn more about you and reading the book. And I hope that everybody that's listening will go on there and go get that book, because the first one, Faith, Failure, and Success, is amazing. And I can't even imagine how this one is going to be, because your ladies, I listened to you guys interview the other night and I was like, holy moly, these ladies are powerful stories. So I can't wait to read it. And I got your book that you produced, that you wrote. Did you say that was, what year was that book?
That was 2014.
That was
That's
2014.
what was so crazy. That book came out right before all this stuff happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So it's like, okay, I got another book for you.
right. And so I belong to a book club that Glenn has. And I got your book last month, and I'm not going to lie, I kind of looked at it and I was like, I don't know what this is all about. And I have it sitting on my nightstand. So now when you said that today, I'm like, oh, I just got that book. I'm going to definitely have to dig into it now. So I'm excited to read it. Is there any last words you'd like to say to anybody? Any like?
Well, one thing I want to say to you, and I have your information, so we'll be in touch, is I'd love for you to be on my podcast also. I have the PPC podcast. It's on Anchor, Spotify, iTunes, wherever most podcasts are, because I'm doing this very similar thing, coming from a little bit different perspective, but it's all about talking. And so I know that your audience is someone different than mine. So I'd love to have you on mine. So thank you so much for inviting me on your podcast. And I'm going to have you on mine in my radio show.
I can't wait.
But everybody out there, whatever it is you're going through, do not belittle it. You know, it may not be you went through a bipolar episode, or you crashed in a car, or you got molested as a child, but whatever it is that you're going through is valid, and you are going through it, but your perspective about what you're going through will determine where you go from here. And you are blessed. You are here. You are awake. You are alive. You are breathing, and thank God for you. And know that tomorrow is another day.
Yes. Thank you so much. That is awesome what you just said. So I'm going to go ahead and end this. I hope that you have a great day, and we will talk to you soon. Okay, Cynda?
Thank you so much.
Everybody have a blessed day. Thank you.